Welcome everyone, this is Coaching in Session and my name is Michael Rearden and I will be your mindset coach today. And today we're going to be talking about stress and is it different between men and women. One of the videos that I had go out was just a short and it got some, I guess you could say notoriety, or it got some publication, or it got some notice. And the reason why it got noticed was because of the title. Who has more stress, men or women? And it was a topic. It was a whirlwind for people to realize that everyone has stress, but who has more of it? And I'm going to be playing those clips right now so you can see what we're going to be talking about. The first clip is part one, where I have my guest talking about who has more stress. And then you're going to hear what I say, and it causes a lot of controversy. Here's that first clip.
Who do you think has more stress, men or women?
I don't know that I would say either. I think I'm a little biased because I'm a woman, so I'll speak from the woman's point of view, unless that's the next question.
No. I want just your answer, just a conversation.
So I think both, but I think for women, there's now this pressure of, show up, go be a career woman, it's not just up to the man to provide for the family. For women, I feel like there's this dichotomy of wanting to have a career, wanting to provide, also not wanting to feel like we're taking advantage of a man for providing for the family. However, then I feel like there's also this pressure to continue to show up, to have children, carry children, take care of them. So I feel like there's a lot that's placed on women. And I think as women, we also take a lot of that on ourselves because we tend to want to be that nurturer. We tend to want to help. So I think a lot of that is also self-induced as well. But I also think there's pressure on men to show up and provide and to do these other things. And so I think that men are faced with their own challenges that I'm personally haven't been privy to in my existence. But I do think that situationally and circumstantially, we all have stressors and we all have that burden. It's just, slightly different in the way that it might show up for us.
All right, so that was the first clip. And as you can see in the first clip, both people have stress, right? And this is just opinion, right? We are not attacking an individual like, oh, you have more stress. Do you think you have more stress? We all have stress, right? Like if we didn't have stress, then we wouldn't be alive. Just the way it is, right? Now you can have good stress and you can have bad stress. And we're going to be talking about that in a minute. But before we go too deep, let's go to part two, where I'm talking about what stress is, because it almost contradicts what is going on.
For me, just looking at like the societal aspect of it, right? If we look at who society views at more, right? So do they look at men more or do they look at women more? Typically, society looks at women more. That's why there's so many commercials on beauty products and different types of clothes and outfits and things like that versus men. Take him fishing, and give him a flannel. He's probably going to be okay. The stresses that are happening right now are almost self-inflicted because we are a society that are saying you need to have these standards. And I think those standards are causing the stress. Men have standards too, yes, to that stress aspect, but the standards are a little bit different when it comes to society, how they view women versus society, how they view men. Men have a pretty simple job, protect and provide, right? Women, on the other hand, they have to look a certain way. They have to be feminine. They have to be submissive. They have to be good mothers. Down that rabbit hole of what society says. And I think because I was reading your profile, you help people with stress. You help people with overcoming stress. And it's part of actually fitness and health to not be stressed, because that stress can deprive you from sleep. It can cause eating disorders. You name it under the sun, you can have a problem just because you're stressed. How can we start to alleviate some of that stress, shed some of those veils that we give ourselves rather than just tacking on and saying, oh, this is just normal?
All right, so that was clip two, part two of that clip. So in part one, my guest is talking about how both people have stress and she gives some examples. In part two, I say just looking at a societal standpoint, society, right? Guess what? People have a hard time looking at society in that light. Oh, men have to protect and provide. We talked about this before on the podcast already. Protecting and providing has a high risk to it, I guess you can say, right? Because we're willing to go to war. We're willing to die to protect and provide. So when we look at it in protecting and providing, is it more than just taking care of the house or the kids or something like that, right? Because we are about to lay down our life. Does that constitute for more stress or does it constitute for less stress? Depends on the person maybe, right? For me, And I know people just hate this when I say this. To protect and provide is not hard. Why do you think a whole bunch of feminists said, I'm going to protect and provide, and I'm going to do it myself? And they were able to accomplish it. The problem is they're not equipped biologically to be able to protect and provide for themselves long term. Now, the long term is not saying that they can't buy their own food and live by themselves and things like that. In our DNA, in the wiring of the brain of a woman, a certain age, she's going to want to have kids, or the inkling to have kids. Now, there's going to be some women who say that, oh, I'm so happy that I'm single and I'm 50 years old and I'm so happy I didn't start a family. It's going to be the small minority of people. I'm not saying that they're not out there. You might be one of them. Buy a dog and be happy alone. There's no reason why you can't live that life. Your life to live. But we can't say that, oh, the reason why I'm alone is because there's not enough good men. Oh, the reason why I'm alone is because I can do everything myself. I'm independent. Guess what? You can have whatever mindset you want to. But a masculine mindset, oh, I'm going to be able to protect and provide by myself. Oh, I'm going to be able to support myself. Go for it. Do it. Let me know in 20 years, are you truly happy? And that's one of the questions we have to ask ourselves, right? Are you happy? And it's a question that, fortunately, someone asked me when I was in my 20s, my early 20s. They said, are you happy? And I said, am I happy? I said, yeah. I get good grades. I got a bunch of girls and got money. I'm like, why would I not be happy? Then they asked me again, but are you happy? Then I started to think, am I happy? Is this what happiness is? Because my standard of money, girls, and notoriety, good grades, right? Intelligence, that was my badge of happiness. That was what the world told me. This is what happiness is. I had a good car, things like that, nice things. This is what the world told me I needed. So since I got what the world told me I needed, is that not happiness? So I was living a life that the world gave for me rather than a life that I gave for the world. So I was living backwards. And it wasn't until then that I said, I'm going to start to live my life forward, no longer backwards. Who has more stress, man or woman? It's a difficult question to fathom because we all have stress and we all put ourselves in different shoes. For example, stay-at-home mom. Does she have more stress than the guy who's going out busting his balls at a job he don't like with a boss he hates just to put food on the table and keep a roof over her head and his kid's head? Does he have more stress than her taking care of the house and cooking and cleaning and taking care of the kids and the soccer and the basketball and doing all this stuff? Who has more stress? And it comes down to mindset, actually, because there's going to be different people in the world who just manage stress differently. That means I can manage stress maybe better than another individual. And there's going to be different types of stresses and there's going to be good types of stresses. So the stresses that we're going to be talking about today are going to be physical, mental, and then, of course, sexual. Now, sexual is going to be the easiest one, where it's like we need to get that release, both men and women. Just think about if you're a man, you just have that urge. You're just like, I got to do something, right? That's why a lot of men would just go watch porn, get their release, done. Go to OnlyFans, get their fix, done. They won't go out to the club or to the library or on a dating site or wherever they're going to go to get their lady, do the work, get a meaningful relationship, start a marriage, and then get their sex. Because that man is just going to say, well, this is what I'm getting. I'm not getting any relations, or I'm getting relations once a month or once a year, and we put up with it. And the way those men get over is they get their sexual release somewhere else. Another woman, a video, porn, whatever. All of those things are giving you a sexual release. Women, same thing. And you're ovulating and you're feeling like you want something, go to the sex store and you can get your toys or whatever you need in order to get your fix. Because I'm sure you can probably pull up a clip. Oh, I don't need a man. I got my dildo or whatever. Okay, cool. You are getting your fix. So that sexual stress is there. In a marriage or in a relationship, sometimes it gets to the point, it's like, hey, we're in a relationship and we should be doing this, but we're not doing this. It's causing me stress. So I'm not getting it. So I'm going to get it somewhere else. So we cheat. We become polyamorous, right? We become swingers and we do the things that we need at that time. We handle the stress in any way, whether it be positive or negative. How can we start to understand that type of stress better? It starts with your mindset. It starts with communication and conversation. Because if you don't even conversate with the persons that you want to be with, then you'll never be with them. And it's easy to get wound up in the world. Very easy. You're working a 9 to 5, you come home, you're tired. Last thing on your mind might be having relations. Maybe there's going to be a mismatch in when you want relations versus when your partner wants relations. It creates tension in the relationship, stress into the relationship. There's ways around it. ReardenConcepts.com if you need some help. Then we get into the physical. Physical stress can be good and bad. Again, there's going to be goods and bad stresses. Physical stress can be, I'm going to the gym and I'm working out and I'm stressing my body. My muscles are sore. My body is sore because I'm working. That could be great stress. I have to run this marathon. Or maybe if you want to be more appropriate, you don't have to run it. I want to run this marathon. Now you have that stress of running that marathon. You're in the race and you're running, you're tired, you're exhausted, but you want to finish. It's a good stress, actually. Now, if you're trying to be first place and you're killing yourself, maybe it can be a bad stress. Depending on the light, depending how we look at it. Physical can be that. The physical stresses of what we put our body on is if we eat unhealthy and we don't do enough movement in our day, enough exercise. We can be putting unnecessary stress on our body. And we don't even know it's there. It just happens. It just happens. Life just happens to us. And so we just keep on moving. Oh, things will be okay. I get some sleep. I get some rest. I get some food in me. And I keep on moving. But we don't worry about the stress. I'm going to throw it in a corner and I'll worry about it later. Maybe. Typically that later comes in the shape of a stroke or a doctor's note saying, hey, you need to fix something really quickly or you don't have much longer to live. That is a jolt to the brain because guess what? The brain's number one purpose is to stay alive. So when we get bad news that we are not going to be alive anymore, if we don't start to change our actions, guess what happens? We start to make some actions, some changes. I know Lizzo, I think she lost some weight. But if we look at just the stars, right, who has body positivity movement, Adele, beginning, oh, it doesn't matter, she's a great singer, and she lost all this weight. Oh, she shouldn't have lost all that weight. Okay. Lizzo, same thing, oh, big and beautiful, this and blah, blah. Starts to lose weight. I thought they were fine the way they were. I thought they were perfect. They're big and beautiful. Look in the mirror. You go, girl. Independent. But guess what? What happens is that at some point, they realize their body starts to change. I can't keep this up. The stress on the body is too much. When you are overweight, you are putting unnecessary pressure on your joints, on your body. And your body has to somehow figure it out. So you're going to not be able to walk by the time you're 50 because you have too much weight on top of you. A doctor's going to say, hey, this is no good. It's no good. You have to make some changes. Otherwise, by the time you're 60, you're not going to be able to walk anymore. That's the shocker. That's the doctor's note. That's stress right there. People have that too, right? That physical stress. Sometimes we don't even realize we're giving it to ourselves because we're just doing what we're supposed to do in the world, right? We're going out and doing a job and we got to eat. So it doesn't matter what we eat as long as it's quick and it doesn't break the budget because we don't have time to meal prep, right? Because we don't have time to eat healthy because it's too expensive. Because if we have to work more, then we're going to be more stressed because we have to afford the foods to eat to make us less stressed. It's almost like a rat race, but with stress. Then we get into the mental stress, is what we were talking about in those two clips. Mental stress is going to be the stress that we get from other people, the stress we get from the world, the stress we give ourselves. I'm going to be stressed because I need to show up in my relationship, my career, my life. As a parent, I'm going to be stressed. I'm going to be stressed because I don't want my kids to live in this world, and I'm so worried about if they're going to be doing this, and I'm so worried about if the world's going to end, about UFOs and about all the toxic things in the world and toxic spills. And sometimes there's going to be times when you can be stressed, and there's going to be some times when you shouldn't even be stressed. Cool, calm, and collective. And some people are just not equipped to handle stress. They are just not equipped. They don't know how to deal with stress. Think of test anxiety, stress. Right? You're stressing out because you got to take a test and maybe you didn't study for it. Or maybe it's a very important test. Some stresses can be good because it makes you take action. But just because you have that stress, it doesn't mean it's a good stress. So yes, you take action. You stay up all night to study for this test. So now you're tired. You didn't get enough sleep. Maybe you didn't get a good meal in you. But now you have to go to work. You're just breaking yourself down. And eventually, the wheel's going to pop. And we crash. At some point. But this is not just talking about stress in the sense of what is stress, because we can learn how to manage it. I have a blog on that, how to manage stress, how to be less stressed, because being stressed is a mindset. Because if you are going to be stressed, it's because you gave that stress to you. Oh, my partner cheated on me. I'm so worried about the relationship. Kick her out, kick him out. You go live your life. You're not stressed about it. You know what you're going to do. You're going to go live your life. Yeah, you might be hurt. You might be sad. Move on. Easier said than done, Mike. No, move on. Yeah, it's that simple. Not saying that you can't find a love letter in a notebook or something in a year or two and you say, oh, look at that. But you already moved on. Heartbreak and things like that. Is that stress? It causes stress for our mentality. How do we manage that? Everyone is going to have to learn how to go through grief at some point or trauma at some point. But if you don't know how to even do that, then you're going to be stuck in it for quite some time. I always tell people, if you're having a really hard time, get a coach. Get someone who's going to help you, guide you along the way. Because if not, you're going to be dealing with that stress by yourself. Think of like putting all the problems in the world on your shoulders when you have stress. But if you have stress and you start to confide in a coach, ask for some direction, get appropriate steps in order to take away that stress in your life, you're going to start to see, oh, my life is changing. Things are getting better. You're less stressed. You don't want to be stressed, especially financial stress. If you're in a job that's not making enough, we have two choices: change your lifestyle or change your job. We can either work more or we can work smarter. I don't know. Which one do you want? People get to make their choice when it comes to stress. So who's more stressful, men or women? Well, if we look at what women are, they are very emotional. They're in touch with their emotions. They have to be, biologically. They are there to raise and nurture these young children coming up in the world, the young men and women, boys and the girls. They are there to love and care for them. My wife does a better job than me at loving and caring for my child. Can I love my child too? Yeah, I can. Do I? Every day? But she can do it better than me. I'm not saying, oh, this is not equal. Like I want you to love my kid less because we have to be equal in the relationship. And, like my job is only protecting and providing. And sometimes I don't have to like protect you because no one breaks in my house. Nonsense. The people who believe in this equality don't understand their role. They are gender roles. So when you are a woman, you have your woman stresses, whether it be relationships, raising a family, doing what you have to do. Same thing on the men's side. When you're a man, you have to provide, you have to protect, you have to handle your business, you have to show up. All of it is going to be stress. Both sides have stress, but who has more? And I said in that clip, society gives women more stress. Now, if we look at the stress of what a man has to go through in order to be a top 10%, I'm not even talking about the top 2%, top 10% guy. That's a lot of stress because there's going to be people who are trying to use you as a stepping stone as a male. And you have two choices: allow them to step on you or to fight back. And right now we're living in a world where fighting back is not the go-to action. Most people would walk away now. Not saying that we should just go around and start being violent, but men have that capability to be extremely violent. And if you saw the emotional intelligence episode, emotional intelligence is not the answer. We're not trying to get men in touch with their feelings and their emotions so they're less violent and less aggressive. If they're less violent and less aggressive, they're going to be less efficient at protecting and providing. That is why an independent woman, a feminist type mindset woman, can go out, say she's Miss Independent, needs some protecting and providing, and she needs the cops, 911, someone to come save her. Not saying this is every woman. There's a video where it was a woman who was just walking and a guy tried to mug her or rob her or something like that, pulls a gun, shoots him. You can protect yourself. You can provide for yourself. You can be self-sufficient. But do you want to do that all the time? The answer is typically no. When you ask a woman that today, the answer is typically no. No, I would rather have a man protect and provide for me. Because in this situation, if you were out with your man, ladies, this is for you. If you were out with your man and there was an opportunity for him to protect you, would you not want him to? I'm just asking, would you not want him to? Or would you rather him sit down and you handle it? Not saying that you can't handle it. I'm not saying that. Would you rather him handle it because he's supposed to be protecting you rather than you handling it? Maybe a guy comes up, smacks your booty. That's big, girl. Boom. Your man's going to look at you and say, you better do something about that. That's disrespectful. That's disrespectful. All right, yeah, you're right, honey. I'm going to go protect myself. Those relationships don't last. They don't. Even if you are just thinking in your head right now, well, I would still protect myself. Guess what? You won't see that man the same way. You won't. And eventually you're going to go out. You're going to leave that man. You're going to find another man who will stand up, regardless of what you want. You don't want him to protect you when someone smacks your booty, and he does. You're going to fall in love with that. Twisted almost. We have this mentality of, oh, I can do it myself. But it'll be nice if someone took care of me. It'll be nice if someone, flew me out. Oh, it'll be nice if someone bought my clothes and my bags and my car. It'll be nice if someone protected me when I needed protection. We are giving ourselves unnecessary stresses because we're going against what we know biologically, what's in our DNA, what's ingrained in our DNA. If I'm good at something and I can do it quick, I can do it well, it would be a good idea for me to do that task. If I'm not good at something, should I do that task still? Maybe, maybe not, right? Depending on what the task is. But if it doesn't bring you fulfillment, if it causes you more stress, if it takes you longer to do something, you're being less effective in your day. So a lot of the stresses that we have in the world are because we don't even know how to prioritize our day, be it physical, be it in mentality states, and or dealing with relationships, sexual releases, etc. We are just allowing ourselves, our voice, to not be heard. Well, I'm just going to put up with this, right? Stress. I'm going to put up with it until I can't anymore. And as long as you put up with stress, you're going to keep on having stress. And you're going to keep on believing that everyone in the world has more stress than you. Everyone has stress. Depending on how we label who has more stress is going to be dependent on the question. Society might give women more stress, but the standards might give men more stress. Yeah, there is a standard for women to look a certain way, to have a type of hair, to be feminine and to go along those ways. But women are born with their value. Men have to earn their value. Do you not think for a second that a man growing up and having to fight for his value, his worth, and he finally gets it, it would behoove that man to make sure he picks the right woman? Because if not, she could take half of his stuff. Who has more stress in that situation? Someone who had to fight all the way from the ground up to where they are just to lose half of their stuff or to lose their kids because someone doesn't feel happy in a relationship anymore? Who has more stress, men or women? It's going to be dependent. What I can tell you is that as long as you don't have a strong mindset, you are going to believe that one or the other has more stress. You should be able to see that, yeah, there's stress is here. I can see a woman's job as most less stressful, but in a sense, they're going through it, they're living it, they have so much other things. Being a stay-at-home mom is not a hard job, but it is a job. And then you tack on the emotional mentality of a woman. Oh, I got to take care of my family too. I got to do this, and I got to make sure I show up in the world, and I do this. I mean, we give ourselves that. They give themselves that. Society gives that to you. Versus, I'll do what I want. I'm good. Men will go out fishing. I'm good. Now, he might be going through a lot. He's going to keep that all pent up. Builds up eventually. Yeah, he has more stress. Do we talk about it? No. Deal with it. Men and women operate on different rules. If you want to be emotional, yeah, women are going to have more stress. If you want to look at the standards, men are going to have more stress. So ask yourself, who has more stress, men or women? And I'm interested to hear your take on it too, because everyone's going to have their own opinion. Because you might look at society, you might look at your life, you might look at the value of what a woman has when she's born versus the value of what a man has to what he has to create in his life and protect. Or we look at the sanctity of life or just the value of life, that my job of protecting, meaning I can die during this process, has a higher stress value. Maybe that is something that you think about. Maybe that's something that resonates with you. So it causes you stress to think about that. But then are you even equipped to handle it? Maybe, maybe not. Stress is going to be different for everyone. So I can't tell you who has more stress, man or woman, as much as I hate to, leave the episode like that, but it's going to be dependent on the person. My life, I have stress. Everyone has stress, but I don't have the same amounts of stress that many men have, because financial stress is one of those main stresses in relationships and in personal life. So if you have money, you might have other little problems here and there. If you have a good relationship, you don't have that problem there. If you have a good mentality, you don't really have that problem there either. Are you in shape? You don't have that problem there either. I give myself less stress. I do things that are going to make me less stressful. So if you're living in stress, that's on you. So if you're a man who has more stress, that's on you. If you're a woman who has more stress, that's on you. Who has more stress, man or woman? That's on you. My name is Michael Rearden. I'm a mindset coach. If you have any questions, you can email me coachinginsession@gmail.com. And I will see everyone on the next episode of Coaching in Session. Until then, everyone, take care.